Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the 192nd edition of Cinema Effect. I'm Zach, and I'm joined by my fellow Hans Zimmer appreciator, Jaden.
Howdy.
Howdy. And our resident Irish citizen, a.k.a. Fitzy, a.k.a. Liam.
Hey.
Look at that. Look at that new angle.
All right.
Amazing.
Awesome.
Take it in, everyone.
High tech.
I don't know about you guys. I don't know what it's like in Torquay, but I feel like I'm on Arrakis right now. You know what I mean?
So it was perfect conditions yesterday to watch Dune. You know,
it really was.
Searing temperatures.
They should
bloody crazy.
They should show Dune in those 7D cinemas that they have on the Gold Coast. You know, the ones that spray shit at you.
Oh yeah.
But instead of spraying the water, it's just fucking sandblast you.
That would be just horrendous.
An immersive experience.
Have you ever been to one of those?
I did go to one. Waste of money, man.
So yeah, they're a bit trash.
Actually, the one at Movie World wasn't too bad because that's a proper, because they were showing Journey to the Center of the Earth, the new one, the newish one, and that one was professionally done. You know, it was, I don't know, very well organized. But then I went to one of those ones that you just have on the corner of the street, and it was pretty poor.
They are literally on the corner of the street up there.
Yeah, which
is really weird. But yeah, I'm genuinely curious because I've never been to one.
Yeah, and, the small ones on the corner of the streets, they're more roller coastery. Where it's 8 seats, and they're actually on a fucking podium, and it's tilts and shit. So that that part is fun, but it's just that you kind of get shitty, just computer animations. Whereas the Movie World one, you got to see an actual film.
Right. I know in the US, they do actually in real cinema chains, the Village equivalents or what AMC or whatever they're called. They actually do have it's a real offering they have for real films.
Oh, bullshit, really?
Yeah. I remember people saying they saw Avatar that way, the second one. You know, they have water and shit or whatever, air spraying at you. We need to get that down here. I need to give it a go.
Did you see? Just to take it off path a bit, that company released the thing that you plug into your PlayStation, and it released the smells from the games. It releases smells of gunpowder or dirt and shit
what?
That. I don't know, but you can you can pretty much have one of these at home now.
That's I hate that.
Yeah, I can't remember what it's called. I think it's called Dual. Yeah, it's not Dual Sense because that's a control. It's Dual. Smell or something like that, I think.
Just
yeah,
dude. Any game, think about it. Any game you play, the vast majority of the smells are going to be terrible. You know what I mean? Gravel,
Last of Us, yeah, sure.
Yeah, sewage,
rotting flesh. Yeah.
I hate that so much. I really wish you hadn't told me. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, this is Cinema Effect, the podcast where we review and talk about a different movie every single Monday. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcasts. So go ahead and subscribe if you enjoy the show. This week, the movie we're reviewing is, of course, Dune Part 2, which opened in the US on March 1st, 2024. It was directed by this guy named Denis Villeneuve. Not even going to bother. It's a sci-fi film.
Fucked. You can do it. We've done these things before. Come on.
Oh, come on. Denis Villeneuve, I know. I know,
but you committed to Dennis, so I thought you were going to commit to the meme.
I did commit to the meme by not trying to say his name.
No, but there's the Denis Villeneuve. You know?
Villeneuve. Okay. That is pretty funny, actually. Okay. It's a sci-fi film, and the synopsis says, Paul Atreides unites with Chani and the Fremen while seeking revenge against the conspirators who destroyed his family. It's kind of a mid-synopsis. But, anyway, Jaden, I want to go to you first. I'm curious because we all saw this film yesterday, and despite the very high scores for the film, there was a bit of a curious sort of range amongst us as well in terms of the scores that we had. But I want to know what you thought.
Yes, the range between us, all of us that went, was very interesting. I was definitely shocked at a few of those scores. I think where I've landed is kind of similar to where I was for the first one, where I think it's pretty exceptional, and it's hard to pick apart faults, but I still don't perceive it as high as other people seem to be. Because I remember for the first one, we had this long discussion. It was only praise, but I think by the end of the day, we all came out with 7s or 8s and stuff like that. And I feel like that's kind of where I'm landing at the moment for this, where I think this one did immerse me far more. But still, at the end of the day, like, there's just something holding me back. I think it's in my unfamiliarity with the world. I think because I think my election to not continue reading the books was probably like the wrong one. I think had I been more involved in this world, I think I would have actually cared more. Whereas my initial thought was that I want to see Denis' vision only. So I think that might have hurt my kind of experience at the moment, but still, I thought it was quite great, and just I don't know, fully wrapped into it, like in a movie sense, but not an emotional sense.
Yeah, okay, I get you. Yeah, I do. I think I agree with you. Right off the bat, I have to say, like, from a filmmaking perspective, it was incredible. It's Denis at his peak, doing what he does. Same goes for Greg Fraser, the cast, the crew. I didn't expect anything less, but just getting to watch their work on the big screen really quickly reminded me, it didn't take long, when it started, like, why I love coming to see these big movies, why I love Denis as a filmmaker. So nothing but praise there for sure. In terms of the story of this, though, I have reservations. I can't wait to talk them through, but I want to preface them and this whole conversation by saying that for me, like, I'm almost certain I need a rewatch for certain things for them to click with me more. It's like a Godfather Part 2 thing. I know the potential's there for me to really love it. I just can't quite see it yet. Second of all, I'm also sure a lot of what we'll talk about will be related to the book and stuff that the novel does. So, like, a lot of that won't necessarily relate to the filmmakers. They're just adapting it. That's great. And it's why I'm very, very glad that we have amongst our ranks someone who has read the novel. You know what I mean? So, speaking of that person, Fitzy, what did you think of Dune Part 2?
Yes. Well, it's kind of the opposite for me a little bit, because I thought that, well, parts of the film I felt were hindered a little bit by me having read the novel, just because there are, like, some differences, and the movie definitely makes the story of the second half of the book more palatable, I guess, and more, like, dynamic in the characters. Some of the characters are changed to just, like, create drama and that kind of thing. But for the most part, I was into it. I was immersed and stuff, I guess. It just, I don't know. It feels a bit. I don't know. There's so much to go into, but it feels a bit. It's definitely messier than the first one, and it hits a lot of moments really well. But I think there's a lot of, like, kind of downtime which I wasn't really invested in, I guess. I don't know. I'm kind of conflicted, I guess.
Okay. This is going to be interesting. First of all, how do we feel about the IMAX experience this time? This is now our third time going. Jane, I know you had some reservations about the print that we saw. How are you feeling about that this morning?
Still the same. I haven't really shifted on that. I don't know if I spoke about it with you, Liam, but I was saying at the screening, like, I regret seeing it on 1570. I think, and that's like that's like, that's not even like, maybe, or like, no, like, I think the 4K laser would have been way better. Probably just because, like, it wasn't shot on film. I don't know what the process is like of transferring it. I don't know if that would have made a difference if it was actually shot on film rather than the transfer. But comparing in my mind to what we got to see 4 years ago, it's just not the same. I think the definition in the image is actually kind of integral to what's being put on screen. I think the film grain and, like, doesn't add enough character. Or, like, the blemishes in it don't really do enough to warrant its kind of existence. And I think, yeah, it just seemed a bit dim and kind of, I don't know, washed out maybe, I guess. Yeah, I definitely would like to go see this in a digital showing.
Yeah. Yeah. I like thinking that, usually all the cinephiles want to seek out like the ultimate version, which is usually the film print, right? But like in this very particular case, it's just funny how, because I think you said it, Jane. I think you were right that like it feels like the 1570 was a marketing thing off of Oppenheimer for them to get people in. But like the reality is that the real cinephile for this film would go out of their way to go and see the really late 4K laser print screening, because that's the true screening for this. Actually, you know what I mean? So I find that interesting. But yeah, Fitzy, did you have any similar thoughts on that, or just IMAX overall?
No, not while I was watching it, but I guess now that Jaden said it, the first one did feel like it had more color to it, I guess, and more clarity in the image, I guess, when we saw the first one in IMAX. But yeah, I do want to rewatch this anyway, so I would like to see the difference as well, I guess.
Yeah, same here. I mean, for me, it didn't take away from my experience at all. I didn't really like the blemishes in the film as well, though. I do agree with that. But yeah, like, I don't know, the IMAX format, it's funny, like, I definitely like got the least out of it this time in terms of the aspect ratio, because like this is now our third time going. So it's kind of like, I feel it's wearing off just a little bit, but like I still thought it was fantastic. I wouldn't have wanted to have seen it in any other way. Like if I could choose between like going to, Readings or whatever and seeing it in digital there versus like seeing this film print on IMAX, I'd still pick the IMAX any day of the week, because that tallness of when the ratio widens out like that, it still doesn't really get old for me, that part of it, and that was still just a feast for the eyes in this film, for sure. I guess, I don't know. I guess while we're on the topic, we can touch on some more of the visuals and the action and that kind of shit. I do want to kick it off just by saying that for me, like I need everything that I was talking about with the IMAX and the action and everything I loved visually about the first film. Like a lot, it's funny because a lot of that stuff can just be repeated. That we talked about all those years ago about how well it blends CG and reality and location shooting and all that kind of shit. That all still stands. So, and the aesthetic of the film is very consistent. I even love how they like perfectly maintain like the opening. You know what I mean? It's like it very much feels like the two films are complete together, and I love that. But so there's not a ton to add in that department, I guess. But like the one sequence that like really got me, that really blew me away in the format, and just really like experiencing it on the big screen, was the Paul riding the sandworm. Was unbelievable in my opinion. I was on the edge of my seat. The way they shot it, like being close, keeping it sort of in Paul's view and in his direct surroundings, like as he's clawing and the flaps of the skin and the sand rushing past him and everything. Like they didn't really do anything too crazy, but just so keeping it in that sort of more grounded perspective, if you will, of like in his point of view. You obviously expect he'll succeed in riding the worm, so that wasn't really in doubt, but it still got me, and it really worked as like the film's ultimate showstopper. And I was surprised sort of how early I was already felt like my sort of like cinematic, if you will, like peak experience with the film was, I guess. So I loved that sequence. I don't know if I don't know if you could like sense how into it I was when you were sitting next to me, Jane, or how did you feel about it?
I don't know. In terms of sensing things from you, I just kind of felt the sense I got from you for the rest of the film was disappointment, because you kind of I think I heard you huff a few times, and like I don't know, I think you were kind of just like sitting there like arms crossed and like you like casually like readjust like this a bit, and I was like damn, Zach's not into this. That was my sense right at the time.
I actually was doing that a fair bit, but it didn't really represent anything. Yeah.
That's is this for me to talk about my favorite sequence to it? What?
Oh yeah, if you want to, yeah. Or get any
no,
thoughts
I
on
just
the
wasn't
sand.
sure like what we're doing. Or
Yeah.
was it just addressing the question then moving on?
Oh sure, but like, do you have any? Did you have another sort of showstopper like equivalent experience that I did, or was it the sandworm? Or
No, the sandworm was cool because it's kind of like mental kind of way that you're talking about. But I think for me, like it was the moment that I was most fully into it, and like I think that the IMAX camera and ratio had its most potential, had its most like kind of fulfilling kind of thing, was in the final knife fight between Paul and Fade Ralpha. Because although it's like only just floor and ceiling really that continues past the what would traditionally be black bars, it does so much to kind of wrap you into it, and in such like a once again like a kind of like withdrawn sequence, considering that this is the climax, like the actual proper climax post the kind of big raid. Yeah, just brilliant stuff there. I think that's when I was kind of immersed into it, and I think they kind of knew that with their marketing, and that's why they kind of had that image plastered wherever they could.
was that fight in the trailer and stuff like that?
I'm not sure about the trailer because I always try to avoid the trailer, but like there was quite a few billboards, and like the stairs on Southern Cross. I was telling this to Andy. The stairs on Southern Cross up until 2 days ago had that on it, but then obviously when we go up to watch it, they remove it.
Right. Oh wow, that's really cool. Yeah. Oh, I'm glad you brought that one up. Like the knife fight was awesome. I mean, I love all the hand-to-hand combat in this film in general. Same as the previous one, but it's like taken up a notch here for sure. And it never gets old seeing the Fremen rise from the desert. Like when they just rise from the sands. It's the coolest shit ever. I love that, and all their rolling and the way they do their choreography is great. That knife fight was so cool. I listened to Greg Fraser this morning. They built. I don't know anything about any of this shit, but like I can just say that like they built this like huge lighting rig, like to simulate this. I guess it's a sunset.
I think so.
Yeah. It wasn't a sunrise because it was day. Yeah, like to simulate the sun in that scene, and Timmy and Austin like rehearsed it for months. It was all them. Great stuff. Loved it for sure. That was like the best action I've seen. And it's already got a ton of good action for sure. Fitzy, any thoughts on those two scenes or any others you want to take us to?
Yeah, they were both pretty great. I think, like, as showstoppers, I said that those were like the highlights, but I think that the black and white sequences or semi-black and white sequences were kind of like what shocked me the most, I guess, just from like the combat in the arena through the trancy kind of Leia Seydoux scene that we got. That stuff was really great. Just like when it dipped into the weirdness of the Dune world, that's when I was like most invested in it. Like when they opened the movie and they had the shot of the fetus, I was like, fuck yeah, we're doing this, So like whenever they had something that was really different like that's when I was like most into it, I think.
Yeah. The feeder shots for sure. And I love that whole black. Well, how did it feel to be, what's the word? Like finally, I know you'll prove it right that it was black and white,
Oh right. Well, I think Jaden conceded a few weeks
just before Grace went blank. I'm not sure if it was in the episode, but I saw a thing and I was like, and I conceded that he was right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Say, no, you can't pit us against each other. No drama here, man. Yeah.
Well, I will in the video layout. So sorry, but okay. I didn't know that. So like for me, when they cut to that arena, and because I don't think it was in the final episode, but like when they cut to that arena and like you see everyone in the stands and it's black and white. That was my confirmation. I was like, oh, Liam was right. Liam was right. Confirmed. But that was a really cool sequence. I was actually wondering about that in terms of, I'm sure we'll talk a lot more about changes from the book and stuff like that. But is that scene in the book? Because just watching the film, it to me had the vibe of a scene that you would add to sort of introduce Austin Butler's character, because like it felt like it didn't give us anything that a paragraph couldn't give in a book. You know what I mean? But it was still really cool.
No, that wasn't in the book, but I think it was just like it was executed really well, and the way they panned from like the color from the artificial lighting to the black and white of the the black sun, something that was kind of like hard to imagine in the book. The way they transposed that to cinema was like perfect. But it was pretty book accurate. Like even the Baron saying like plans within plans, that's something from the book. And I think there was more from the book. Like there was another character, Count Fenring, who was Leia Seydoux's husband. But yeah, it was all there. It was all from the book. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, that's good. Were there any characters that like were actually introduced earlier in the book, but like Denis saved them for this second part? If that makes sense. Like I was mainly curious about Austin Butler and Florence Pugh.
Well, Florence Pugh's a weird one because she actually gives like the introductions to each paragraph, because like later on she like writes a book of Paul's history kind of. But she's not actually in the book until like later on. It's pretty accurate in that sense.
Right.
I don't think you withheld anything apart from. So like the major differences is that in the book and the Lynch movie, there's like 2 years extra in the South, where a lot of extra stuff happens that's not in this film. Those are like the main points of difference.
Okay. Yeah. And you said like the daughter's born already and that kind of shit.
Yeah, Chani and Paul have a kid who like die right before he gets to the Emperor, and then the daughter Aliyah is born, and she's like a 2-year-old who like is like an adult kind of, because she has all the wisdom from the previous Reverend Mother. She's like fully cognizant. So those are the main differences.
Right. Okay. That's interesting though, because not to get too far ahead, but it's like I can sort of. I mean, I don't know about the Aaliyah thing actually, but the I can see changing that. I don't feel like Paul and Chani need a kid. You know what I mean? To achieve what they wanted.
Not necessarily, but I think it does add to like the cold character that Paul kind of becomes at the end of it. Yeah. Okay. It does add to that, but I get cutting it. I think they also made Chani less subservient, I guess, in the book. She just kind of went along with Paul's plans, and here they obviously have to make something dramatic out of it. They made it more dynamic between those two and kind of created, a whole story there that wasn't in the source material. Right,
like in terms of her, like that conflict of like don't change and he doesn't want to change, and then like in terms of how it plays between them, and then like her whole thing of like then sort of rebelling against him.
Well, they sacrifice like politics for drama, basically. Like there's more factions in the book, like the guild, who play a bigger role in this second half, and Chani's like more politically savvy or like colder in the book. So they made, and the Fremen as well. It's like in this you have differing opinions among the Fremen, and they don't all just accept Paul as their leader. There are some who kind of rebel against that idea that he is this prophet. So I think those are actually good choices for adaptation to just make it more dramatically interesting, I guess.
Yeah, I agree, because when we'll talk about Paul, but the whole dynamic with him and with Zendaya in this film, I thought was quite strong, and it added quite a bit to the film for me. So without that sort of back and forth that they had, because she felt like she was like a big sort of emotional point, like sort of anchoring him until he becomes unanchored, I guess. So yeah, that added a lot to the film for me. And Zendaya's performance overall added a lot to the film for me, for sure.
Jaden.
I'll defend Zendaya in this film all day, Jaden. And you know what? When we walked out, you said, who was worse in this film than Zendaya?
Mm-hmm.
And you know who was worse?
Who?
Christopher Walken was worse. No doubt.
Womp womp. Wrong opinion.
Come on, man. Come on. You can't. You thought Christopher Walken gave a better performance than Zendaya in this movie?
Yes.
Oh my god! I can't believe it.
Actually, I agree with
Yeah.
Zach. Actually, I don't think Christopher Walken did much at all as the Emperor.
He didn't do much, but he was more of a space emperor than what Zendaya was a Fremen. You know, she was just playing an American teenage girl, man. And that's like always her character. That is what she always is, man. And it's just boring. It's just boring. She can't change the character.
Oh, boo, boo. No, you can't say this.
Zendaya Coleman's fine. She's fine, but she's not as good as anyone else in the cast.
Okay, all right. See, my main takeaway from like bringing this point up is that I'm surprised you haven't wriggled at all since the first film. You know what I mean? Like in the first film, she sort of didn't do anything, and like I sort of, I know we had a TikTok reservations, if you will. But it's like,
oh yeah, actually, yeah. Now that you bring that up, I remember that too. Fuck.
Yeah. But now it's like she actually like had a whole movie to like flex, and it's like I thought she did a great job, So I thought you would have budged a little bit, I guess.
She did fine, but once again, like no, she's like, I think you put a lot of other actresses in that role, and they do much better with, I don't know, actually taking like the kind of, I don't know, I just feel like she wasn't actually like trying to. I think every other Fremen plays, like everyone else that plays a Fremen plays to like that kind of character, but like she just doesn't.
She doesn't feel Fremen.
No.
Okay.
She just feels like she's too normal.
But what about her friend?
Her friend's good.
Why? What did she do different?
She's just kind of like more like into it. I don't know.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
no?
Okay.
You don't feel that?
No, I felt like they were exactly the same.
Hmm.
In terms of like vibe of the performance, Okay. All right. Fair enough. I'm not going to try and convince you. Although I did actually, but I failed. Mm-hmm. Is more my point. Yeah, I agree. I feel like, it was kind of amusing seeing Christopher Walken in this role, but like sub him out for sure. I would have. But like it also didn't matter that much because he didn't really do much anyway. So it's not like it didn't detract from anything. But it was just kind of like, I don't know, you put anyone else in there.
Yeah. True.
But then, I mean, this cast is like stacked. Like, how do we feel about Austin Butler's performance in this? Because
it was
pretty wild.
It was like the best.
It was pretty wild.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, his use of his voice is great. His I don't know, demeanor. He's a cheeky little, cunning little. He's a naughty boy, Yeah.
Yeah, I thought he was fantastic in the film. I'm so glad he took this role because, like, I don't know. I feel like right now his career's on a certain path that didn't necessarily involve something like this. You know what I mean? And I'm glad he took it because he crushed it, and it was great. It was very entertaining. Everything he did with his mouth, you know what I mean? He kind of like, I don't know what he does. He kind of has it like half open sometimes, and like when he stuck his tongue out, obviously, but like I don't know, it added this whole new like this disgusting kind of creepiness to it. But he never.
What did you? Can you show me? What did you do?
No. Maybe when we didn't have video, but
you can cut it out.
No, I won't be doing it for your amusement. But the thing about the performance and the character that was great is that like it was entertaining, it was out there, it was wild and all that kind of shit. But like it still felt human, I guess. Like the character didn't feel like so over the top that he was like a reptile or like some fucking like deranged. You know what I mean? It was like he still felt like a crazy person, but he still felt like a person, I guess. It wasn't like it didn't go to that next level. Which I think was a good thing. Yeah. Because I still took him seriously as a fighter. maybe we can use this as a bit of a segue to get into the whole Paul thing at some point. But talking about Rebecca Ferguson as Jessica again, her whole thing in this film was very interesting. Not at all what I would have expected where this character would go, having only just watched the first part. First of all, because she feels like there's a lot going on there. I feel like she heavily influenced Paul in the film. Is it still really, like, to what extent? I guess I'm trying to also just understand, like, the effect of the water of life as well. Maybe you can provide some insight, Liam, but it's like to what extent is she still her after she drinks it?
I mean, not much really, because she has all the experiences from the past, Bene Gesserit, and it's almost like they're manipulating her. You know, I mean, she feels totally different to me in this film. And I think Paul had a similar thing, but you still see like glimpses of his old self and his motivation there. But I think what they did with Jessica in this film was really great. She almost felt like the villain, the way she kind of just rallied up all the Fremen for Paul. The shit they did with her face with the tattoos and stuff was awesome. That was another aspect of like the weird of Dune, the weird of the book kind of seeping into the film that I really enjoyed. You know, whenever I went there and it was kind of wacky, that was great. So I enjoyed everything with her in this.
Yeah.
And kind of the mystical elements they add as well. Like a bit more than the first one. It feels more like spiritual and mystical, I guess.
Oh, definitely. So, like, for her, I guess, drinking the water of life is a Fremen ritual, right? Because she was, like, succeeding that previous mother?
Yeah.
So, but it's a Bene Gesserit thing.
Yeah.
So is that about how there is a lot of this world stuff that I'm going to ask about, by the way. Is that about how the Bene Gesserit, like sort of what you mentioned last night about how like the prophecy was planted by them in the first place? Is that just a thing where like the Bene Gesserit have been like sort of inserted at some point years and years ago, inserted into the Fremen culture? Yeah, because they've went there at some point and they've like become like this sort of part of it that people worship, but really they're sort of outsiders in their own thing. Because I originally, when she drank the water of life, I sort of thought, oh, this is now going to make her more Fremen, like this is going to connect her more to their culture. But that's not really what happened at all. It's kind of the opposite.
Yeah, the Bene Gesserit are kind of out for themselves, and then they plant prophecies on like hundreds of different planets, thousands of planets across the galaxy. So they're their own order, and they're really kind of in control before this. Like they manipulate the bloodlines and genetic pools, and they try to control the leaders and that kind of thing. I think the water of life thing is like common outside of just Arrakis. I think that's just a Bene Gesserit thing in general. Because
okay.
Because like anything from Arrakis, like the spice or what do they call this? Like the worm piss, that is the water of life. It's like hugely important to the universe. So like anything on Arrakis can be kind of extrapolated as important resources for other places, I guess. But yeah, they're out for themselves basically.
But then why did Jessica then go against them? Like, why did she force? Because we're told that she disobeyed them and forced out Paul when she was meant to give a girl, and then now it seems like she's like entirely self-serving and just trying to fulfill that prophecy. Like, are we ever told in the book as to why she's breaking order, or is it just meant to like what's that for?
Well, I guess after she drinks the water of life, she becomes the Reverend Mother, right? And before that, she's still a little bit herself, I guess, and she has her own she makes her own decision and that kind of thing. But she did. I think she wanted a kid for. I think she wanted a boy for either herself or for Leto. So I think that was a selfish decision that she made at that point, before she was like a reverend mother.
And then was it kind of seeing that she was born a Harkonnen? Was that like a breaking point of her like realizing that she's just a pawn as well? She's not a player. Is that?
I think so.
And that's what makes her kind of go on this whole round. Is that what it is?
Okay. Well, I think that's a breaking point for both Paul and Jessica, learning like what victims they are to like this grand scheme that the Bene Gesserit have kind of like supplanted for centuries and kind of like designed around them, I guess.
See, I never bought that as being as a like I kept on waiting for it to be like because I know like Paul's like, oh yeah, if we're Harkonnens we'll play like Harkonnens, and then like we kind of just see him constantly escalating. But like I just kind of I never bought into it. I always just thought that was him putting on a show for the Fremen to follow the prophecy and free Arrakis. Like I never thought like he was going to like actually like be like a dictator, or like the Messiah. I always thought that was just a show for him, and I never bought that it was anything more than that. So I'm not sure if that's a fault on storytelling or acting or just maybe casting. Like I can't see Timmy in that role. But right. Did you like did you feel that too? Kind
of. Me as in like who hasn't read the book.
Either because it just felt like that Harkonnen reveal. By the end, it seems like it was meant to be like the turning point. Whereas to me, that just seemed like another step, and like he was still gonna be like kind of the same kind of guy. It's just a bit more strategic.
Yeah. Well, that's why I think like his kid dying does add a lot, actually. Like to like understand how cold he's become by the end of it.
Right.
Because I think it doesn't completely work for me in the film. Like it is a bit of a jarring change, I guess. I guess that's probably my main gripe with the film. I guess that it doesn't fully work, or you don't fully understand why Paul is the way he is by the end of it. But I think you could also say that's just a problem with the first book, because I think the first book doesn't fully sell you on that either. Like you kind of have to get the Dune Messiah to get the full picture, I guess. So yeah, I don't know. I did believe it by the end of it, but the initial transition is kind of like, I was unsure about it, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, I was going to ask about how he felt about all of this, like because this was a huge sticking point for me too. Like, so, but for you, Jane, for a second, how did you feel about like how it sounds like that, like Timothy's performance, like maybe didn't like. Were you rooting against him at any point?
No, I was never against him, but like I just think that I think the way it's framed in that there's so many playing games and games within games type things. I just always thought that, and like the way that you can see people, you can see the way you see different people giving him different directions. I just always thought that him falling into this Messiah role was just part of his performance, and that and that was going to be the end of it. I didn't think at the end he was actually going to challenge the great houses and try to be like this.
But like his performance, like as in to get the Fremen on side.
Yeah.
Okay. But even like, I don't think that's the intention. But even if it was, that it would still be a significant character shift, right? Because he never wanted, like the whole thing earlier in the film is that he doesn't believe in the prophecy, and he doesn't want to do anything that will take him down the path of potentially being perceived as such.
Yeah.
So like, either way, I guess that's what you said earlier. Like, either way, like there is a character switch with the drinking of the water and like the learning of the Harkonnen heritage. I guess that's interesting. I guess on that, I'm still trying to understand as well. I guess it's the same as you, Fitzy. I'm still trying to understand like the exact effect of the water of life, and like what happened with Paul, because my gut reaction coming out of the theater was that I feel like it totally changed his character and his entire motivations, like drinking the water, learning the truth. I get being opened up to the possibility of time and space or whatever may have that effect. I understand learning something like that about your heritage may have that effect, but I don't really get what the process was like for him in terms of like the explanation of, I'm going to behave totally opposite now to how I was going to. Like, how did we get from here to there without just saying, oh, he drank the water and he learnt the truth? But it's like, okay, but how did that change him? Like, how did that change his psychology and how he perceives what's going on?
Well, there is an explanation that's also in the first book, which is that by the time after he drinks the water of life, all he sees, like, he's basically already become the Messiah at that point. And at that point, there's no stopping the Fremen from, like, a jihad, basically, like a holy war. And so he reluctantly kind of accepts the role because it's the only way he can kind of control it. You know what I mean? Like, his other option is just to kind of to die or whatever, or to try and like get them to stop. But those options only led to more like kind of slaughter across the universe. So it was kind of like there was no option at that point.
But that was after he drank the water.
Yeah. Well, I think.
Okay.
The last point where he has a choice in this film is like before he drinks the water and he says he's not going to go south. And at that point, he's like, he's kind of convincing himself, I think, that like it'll be okay or that he can have control. And it's kind of like a moment of arrogance, I guess, that he can control the future that he's kind of seeing through his prescient visions, even though he can only see fragments at that point. Because like he could have, at that point, he still could have done the noble thing and like, you know, died or whatever, or just like, you know, not face the Harkonnens. But he decides to, from like, you know, his own nobility as an Atreides, and from the kind of those Bene Gesserit voices that like influence him in that moment. So yeah, I don't think the movie fully explains that idea that by the time he drinks the water of life, it's kind of like it's like this unstoppable force is already in motion.
Yeah, okay, that's interesting because I was really all about him holding out and, you know, trusting himself and not going south, and, you know, really sort of sticking to his guns on that, despite everyone else, like, you know, Josh Brolin and everyone else, and just the circumstances in general sort of dictating him to do it. But yeah, he was convinced by that vision thing. Like, what is I can't even remember anymore. What's the dude's name he killed? Jamis. So what was the significance of like speaking to him? You know what I mean? And like, I guess I am still like you said, I still am still caught up on like that whole vision aspect convincing him.
I think that was like just more or less a Fremen thing because he took his place. He had visions of Jamis before he met him as well, so I think he's like he's an important character for those reasons. And yeah, I don't know. I think that's more or less the explanation.
Okay. So another way I guess I could look at it is like purely from the film's point of view is that could you suggest that like he was corrupted in some way by the Bene Gesserit? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And by their whole thing, and I guess the water sort of represents that in a way.
Yeah. Well, not that the books doesn't say that as well, but like this film is definitely, I think that's the main, not even subtext, just like the idea behind of this film. Like the Bene Gesserit, like they feature a lot in this film, like the Mahayim, like the conversations with the Emperor and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's featured as like this undercurrent kind of force that's driving everything. And I think in that moment, the fact that he hears Bene Gesserit voices, and that's part of what influences him to go south and take the water, which basically starts, this massive, unstoppable force. I think, part of the idea that it's criticizing is like this implanting of religion and like the dangers of religion and that kind of thing. I think that's an idea that the film gets like, solidly. The audience can actually like understand just from the film alone.
Yeah. No, I strongly agree with that because, it was funny, going back to what you said earlier, a little bit earlier, like Denis in an interview I listened to, he did say that like apparently Frank Herbert literally wrote Dune Messiah because he felt a lot of people didn't get what he was trying to do with Paul in the first book. Like it wasn't apparently like he based on feedback, it like wasn't clear enough. Like people actually just thought Paul was a hero. It's like it wasn't clear enough, so he literally wrote Dune Messiah to like clear it up. And Denis said like he understanding that context, like he wanted to very much take Frank's original intention and make that clear sort of bring that to the forefront, I guess. And I like in that particular aspect, like I can break down like the Paul's character arc and like his state of mind. But like in terms of just the overall effect of like how I felt as an audience member, I think they actually totally nailed that because for me, and it's funny, like that's why I wanted to ask it when we were coming out because like I was totally mad at Paul by the end. Like I really didn't care for him at all, and everything that happened in the end, I was mad. I was almost rooting for Austin Butler. I was just pretty kind of grossed out by the whole thing, which I think was the intent. Oh, actually, well, basically the interview was confirmed it was the intent, basically, and the way, and like you said, like I got that from the film by itself.
Yeah.
So in that sense, they definitely succeeded.
Yeah, like, and in that way, it communicates the main ideas of the book like really well. Like the idea that you shouldn't just blindly follow a charismatic leader, or the idea that there's like the like extreme religion grouped up in one place, and it is kind of like commingled with that is like a bad thing, I guess. Those ideas are like translated well.
Yeah. Those that like obviously I haven't read the book. It's interesting these themes are all interesting. Is there like not that there has to be, I'm not trying to, draw parallels with there are none, but is there like, because I understand those broad ideas about religion and its influence, but like, is there meant to be some sort of like at least semi-real world equivalent to the Bene Gesserit? Because that's the part of it I can't quite place of like, what's like the warning there,
Well, I mean, there's obvious like real world similarities in other places like the spices, like oil and that kind of thing.
Sure. Yeah.
But Bene Gesserit, I'm not sure about that. Maybe
maybe he was Illuminati, like conspiracy theorist.
Yeah. Reptile, like George Bush. Yeah.
Who knows? But maybe that's another aspect of why I really liked Zendaya in the film, because like by the end of it, I was super team Chani all the way. Like her concerns about Paul were well founded, well proven, and I don't know. I loved like her being the closing shot. It just felt so right. It felt like another thing that sort of cemented that idea as well. It was just like, oh yeah, this is the view. This is the injustice right here in the film. That everyone else leaves, and she was right basically. But where are the Fremen going at the end? Actually, like where is paradise for them? Are they going back to Caladan or some shit?
No, they're going to war.
There you go.
Oh, like anywhere?
No, they're going to war.
Like war is paradise. That's like.
But no, they're not going to war. That's not paradise to them. Paradise comes after, but they're going to war for Paul. They're going to fight against the great houses, and then paradise will come after that. Right.
Whatever that is, after they win. Okay. All right. Well, that's fucked. So that makes sense. That's all consistent.
Well, yeah. Well, they feel like they deserve like the Holy War because they've been suppressed for centuries, because Arrakis is like the most important planet in the galaxy or whatever. It has like the most important resource, the spice. They need it for to navigate space travel. So they've been subjugated by like the Imperium for a while now. They're just like they're I don't know, they're like this coiled up force that's ready to kind of unleash.
Not ideal, but obviously makes perfect sense.
It's not good.
Not good. Chani gets it. You know what I mean? This is what I'm saying. But yeah, apparently, so Anya Taylor-Joy was a complete secret in this movie, by the way. Like, apparently, like no one actually did know about that. I couldn't remember if like I just forgot she was on the cast or something. But,
no, she rocked up to one of the premieres, and I was like, "What
are you doing here?" So yeah, I mean that was cool. So it was her in like the earlier visions, right? That the earlier visions that Paul was having about like millions dying in the South, and it was this strange like person that we couldn't make out who it was really.
I thought it was Rebecca Ferguson.
Yeah, I think they showed that to be Lady Jessica.
Yeah,
later in the film.
Oh, that was Lady. Oh, that was. Oh, okay. Right. So I couldn't identify who that person was, but that was Rebecca.
Yeah, I think in like the third or fourth time they show that vision, you kind of see a face. I'm pretty sure it was her.
Yeah, you definitely see a face. I thought it was someone I didn't recognize, and then okay, I just totally missaw that.
Those are actually like people on a pilgrimage to Pole. Like they like go on like this starvation like pilgrimage journey to his like palace because they like worship him so much. Later on.
And they all die. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's messed up, man. Okay. Yeah. These themes are cool when you talk about them. Yeah, I like all this. This is cool.
They are
cool. Okay. Yeah. Javier Bardem in this film. Obviously, in the first one, didn't do a whole lot. Sort of, it makes sense, showed up at the end. But I was into him in this movie. He had a surprisingly sort of comedic role. But one that, first of all, was funny, and second of all, made him stand out and the comedy was thematically relevant. You know what I mean? It was all based on, how much he believes in his faith and all that kind of shit. It wasn't like, it was very, very relevant comedy, which I thought was quite clever. So I definitely enjoyed him. But I was curious, like, is Stilgar like that in the book? Is he? I was just curious, like, how much the comedy was inserted.
He's like snide, but the comedic relief kind of thing isn't really there in the book.
Yeah, okay.
But I think that was one way to like get people behind the anti-religious themes, just kind of seep it in everywhere through the comedy, through the banjo, like just kind of what I mean, just kind of overpower people, the audiences with those ideas.
Yeah, but I thought it was good. I thought it was clever. I mean, Stellan was still gross as fuck. You know what I mean? But in like the best way possible. Where was it? Oh my god, I've got this trivia I had to share actually. I don't know if it was any different to the first one, but Stellan's body makeup took 8 hours to apply and 2 hours to remove for every day of shooting. 8 hours to apply. Anyway, he didn't drink anything and took pills in order to avoid having to go to the bathroom during shoots. So, look, Stellan Skarsgård, fantastic actor. I'm sure he was paid quite well for this role. They should have paid him more. Whatever they paid him, it wasn't enough to put up with that shit. I'm going to say it. Because that's terrible. But he was as great as ever because he was revolting. Worth it, exactly. Worth it for seeing it on screen because it was something else. Was Batista just straight up a pussy in this movie? You know what I mean?
A little bit.
I thought he had more in him. He sort of just ran away.
Oh, he did run away at the end. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, they kind of just mocked him the whole film, which was kind of funny.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I didn't mind it. I was just kind of surprised. I didn't really think they'd go in that direction. Yeah, he was a sort of a fuck up, I guess. But yeah, like I love when he smashed the dude's head. That was great. Oh yeah, I was into that. Actually, the whole action scene where like he was escaping in the ornithopter was great. That was probably his best scene.
That was good. Those control station scenes were cool though. Just like getting that other perspective of like Arrakis from the the screens or whatever. That's cool.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't want to go back to the Bene Gesserit necessarily. I feel like we sort of covered it. But just so I fully understand, like Leia securing the bloodline with Austin Butler.
Oh yeah,
That's them like covering all their bases, right?
yeah.
Like, so then if like he would have hypothetically have like that's the game they're playing. Like, so then if like he would have won the knife fight, then they're good.
Yeah,
but they're good anyway. They're good now because, and then that's like what they were trying to do with like getting Florence Pugh betrothed and all that kind of shit. They're like just making sure they always have an in, no matter what happens.
Yeah,
that's messed up, man. They suck. Yeah, okay, I like that. Because it stood out to me. It was quite cool when I don't know her name at all. Who's like the main, like the leader of them?
Merheim,
the old lady.
Gaius something. Merheim.
Yeah. Merheim. Is she? Do we know who plays her? Because like,
no.
she's like one of the few people that like who has a decent role in the film. Who's like you don't recognize exactly, but like she's fantastic. I thought she was phenomenal. But
Charlotte Rampling.
Shout out to Charlotte. She was great. But it's like when she like hand gestures to the king. Like so the Harkonnens are like saying they don't know anything about who the Muad'Dib is and he's just crazy or whatever. And she like hand gestures that they're telling the truth and there's nothing more to it that we know. Obviously, she does know that it's Paul right at that point. And so does Florence Pugh.
Yeah.
So like that's it.
Yeah.
So that's another example of her like placing bets, I guess. I thought they did because I thought the scene earlier was like they'd already basically said that your dad's screwed. Like she had the conversation with Florence Pugh that your dad's not going to be emperor much longer.
Yes, but did they knew that Paul was alive, but did they know that Paul was Muad'Dib?
Yeah. I suppose I just assumed if they assumed he was alive that they just knew that. But yeah, maybe not.
I don't know. Yeah.
I think they did. Yeah, I think they did. But like, I think that actually makes me not care as much that like they're influencing the Emperor makes me not care as much that the Emperor didn't have that big of a role, or that Christopher Walken didn't have that big of an impact because he's just kind of
a puppet anyway.
Yeah, the puppet anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that's good. Sort of commentary in itself, I guess. That's cool. I know this is kind of a first film question, but like it's still very politically relevant to this film. And I know Roheim, or whatever we said her name was, said in this film that she obviously made the decision for the Atreides to be wiped out and like told the Emperor to do that. So yeah, like you said, like she may as well be the Emperor anyway. But it's like, okay, I still didn't really understand like why she did that and why she thought because she said something about how like the Atreides had to be wiped out because they were getting too powerful or something.
Well, it's because they're harder to. Well, this isn't actually in the book, but I think in the movie it's because like they're harder to control because they're like honor bound and they don't have those kind of weaknesses that the Harkonnens do. I think.
Oh, okay.
And also, like their agent in their family wasn't really doing everything that she was meant to do anyway, as well. I guess. So, like,
right. Yeah, she was a bit of a rebel. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. So they want someone who's easier to control. But like, so what? So then, what? The Imperium can control spice better, I guess. That's like the whole value of the planet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, no, but so like the whole them getting Arrakis was the setup from the start. So wouldn't it have been to like demilitarize the family?
What are we talking about? We're talking about like letting them have Arrakis in the first place.
Yeah, because that was a trap in the first place.
Yeah.
Like the goal wasn't to ensure that the Imperium controls the spies because they already had that insurance through the Harkonnens.
Yeah.
It was the Atreides were getting too independent, and their 92 nuclear warheads are apparently devastating, I guess. So
Right. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, you're right, because the Imperium had the spies. Whoever, they could have chosen anyone. So like they had the spies. That was a done deal. It was, yeah. The whole thing was about it wiping out Atreides, and that was it. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Okay, and then like bringing the Harkonnens in closer, controlling them. Okay, that's good. That's good. So yeah, these are things that like a rewatch is gonna like seep into me. You know what I mean? It's just a bit new. Cool. Okay, that's all good. What about Hans Zimmer's score? I think coming out of it, Jane, I think was it you that mentioned that like you thought he was a bit less reliant on like the themes of the first one?
Yeah. I think this was better because there was just more diversity in like the kind of sounds. I think that comes with with the diversity in the setting as well. Obviously, we're still heavily grounded in the desert planet, but we kind of get the Badlands, we get a bit of Arrakis, we get the north. Whereas it felt like the first one was very much kind of set in motifs that are the kind of stereotypes of that kind of setting. I had that with the whaling type thing, and like that's fine. And they use it again, which is good because it's Paul's kind of like calling, kind of like that's whenever they use it, and they use it well in here. So it's kind of like the diversity in the sound. I think it was and I think because you had a lot more frequent combat, you kind of had it was broken up a bit more. The each piece.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I Yeah, I don't know what it was for me. Like just on a first watch. Yeah, this is another thing rewatch is going to help with. But on a first watch, like the main takeaways I had from the score were just like evolutions of the themes I already recognized. Maybe that was me just because I was kind of looking for them because I know that first score pretty well. So like I sort of just kept hearing oh yeah, I know that theme, and then I sort of didn't really take in anything else. But I need to pay more attention to the new music for me. So I guess I'm kind of the opposite. But
I actually think in this one they reused. Was it a new theme? Or it was like the theme in the trailer. It was like the
hum it for us so we can figure out which one it is.
No, it's one where Charlie and Paul kiss, like that thing. Yeah. Dun 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 dun. That one. It was like the main theme of the movie, but anyway, that was like repeated a lot about.
So that was new.
I think it was new. I don't know.
I don't remember
from the first one. Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't recognize it from his 4 seconds of humming?
Can't say I do. No. But I don't know if that. Yeah, I'm not going to speak to if that's the quality of the humming or just me. But yeah. Okay. Yeah, cool. I'll definitely re-listen to it. Pay more attention. Before I get to Andy's review, I just wanted to. We were talking about it yesterday. I just wanted to clarify. Denis, he confirmed this in an interview I watched. He's developing the script for Messiah right now, but it's not done, and it's not as far along as Part 2 was when Part 1 came out. I assume because remember Part 1 was delayed a year for COVID, so I presume he sort of basically had a spare year up his sleeve there. So he said he's waiting until the screenplay is nailed. At the moment, he doesn't know yet if that will be his next film or he might do something else in between.
Didn't he have that Cleopatra film lined up at WB as well? Or something like that?
Was that him?
I thought that was him.
Really? I didn't know that. So yeah. But yeah, he said he doesn't know what he's going to do next, apparently. He sort of takes it one at a time or tries to. So yeah. But like based on this thing's a smash hit, so there's no doubt he'll be doing Messiah at some point in the near future. But we just don't know if it'll be next or whatever. All right. Andy wrote in a review for Dune Part 2, as in the month June. Andy said, unfortunately, I really wished I liked it as much as you guys probably did. I thought it was just a passable blockbuster / atmospheric experience rather than being the ground-breaking modern sci-fi spectacle many claim it to be. I mostly found myself feeling underwhelmed and was distracted on a few occasions, such as snoozing for a few minutes during scenes with Paul and Shani. Oh no. Or randomly acknowledging in my mind the mini reunions between Javier Bardem and Josh Brolin in No Country for Old Men, or Timothée Chalamet and Florence Pugh in Little Women. Oh, that's funny. I actually didn't make either of those connections at all. But
No,
there
I
you go.
forgot about
That's how little Andy cared. From finally seeing the entire story broken into two parts, I found myself struggling to even be interested in the telling of Dune. Frank Herbert's original novel might be a popular fictional series that I probably could never get behind. I might blame David Lynch's earlier movie adaptation for that. But I'm more interested in seeing the future entries that a visionary like Denis Villeneuve has up his sleeve, as the world building, endless deserts, and visual geometry is above and beyond fascinating in general. A more serious version of this review is on Letterboxd. Cheap plug. But I very much had a fantastic experience at IMAX. Wish I didn't come out of it with a hot take. 6 out of 10. Yeah, that is a hot take, actually. For sure. But thank you for writing in, Andy. That's funny though. And like Andy, of course, acknowledges Denis' brilliance. That's good. Says he's excited for what he can do in the future in the desert, but didn't like this outing in the desert though. You know, Andy thinks Denis can do better in the desert than this. I don't know.
I do agree. Like, this does feel overpraised after seeing it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
But like I said this to Fitzy yesterday, but like I feel like this happens like a few times a year where a film's just like it's great or whatever, like, you know, it's good to great or even fantastic or whatever. But like, sometimes the hype gets a bit much, you know.
You will say as well that I liked. It feels like we got more diversity in the planets we saw this time as well. Like, I know last time we got to see Caladan and we got to see we briefly got to see that world where the Empire's soldiers came from. But it was mostly based on Arrakis, whereas this time we spent more time on the Harkonnen planet and you know, that time in the Imperium.
In that little like forest garden.
Yeah, that was mad. But yeah, especially the time when the Harkonnen place, the black sun and the fireworks that were like liquid and shit. That was sick.
I'm a big sucker for Caladan though from the first one. That's a cool planet.
Just
I want to go back there. It's great though. But it's like, mate, Caladan is just Scotland, like all of Scotland though. And like the Emperor's home planet was like basically just like an old folks' home. Like not even a country. You know what I mean? So like I feel like Caladan wins easy. It was it was cool to see trees, but I didn't want to brush over the cinematography if there were any standout shots that Greg pulled off for you guys. For me personally, like characters, soldiers doing that slow floating down or slow floating up.
Every time. It is so fucking sick, man.
It's so cool, man.
I don't know how you can just kind of have this like floating and make it awesome, because usually like it should feel cheap, but it feels exceptional, man. I love it.
Yeah. I don't know how they. Yeah, that's exactly right. Like you feel like you'd get 10 other people to shoot this, and it would be like that's kind of silly, you know.
You know, like there's nothing propelling them. There's like no. It doesn't seem like it's like what's going on? Like what?
Yeah, but it's so cool. I still don't like. They did it more in this film, so like I was all about it. I still don't think anything tops though in the first film when they slowly descend from like that hole in the underground base. Like before Jason Momoa gets killed, like that. I don't know if anything quite topped that, but like we still got way more of it, so that was great.
I think in Andy's full review he might mention pacing issues, or I saw it somewhere. Did you feel any of that? Because I don't necessarily think it's an issue. I just think that in contrast with the time that the first one spends on shots and moments, this one definitely does feel a bit more rapid. But I don't know if I would call it an issue as much.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like the second half of this film is just faster. But it wasn't an issue. It was just a difference for me. Yeah, I agree with that.
I guess I agree. It's funny that this film is like so filled with amazing spectacle. Because like the book, like the raid on the Empire in the book is like a paragraph. Like Frank Herbert doesn't care about the action at all, but this film is nothing but action.
Right.
But I still think it was like paced well and done well.
So Frank's book is like very dialogue character driven. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, it still is, even though the second one is even more dialogue, character driven. But
yeah.
Yeah.
That actually piques my interest because for me, like, I don't like action in books. Like, I just don't enjoy it. I love action on screen. I don't enjoy like reading. He's swiped to their left and parried, and it's like I just don't need to be reading this. I'm much more interested in reading characters talk, you know. So like that actually sounds like a positive for me to read them, to be honest.
Yeah, that's
right. You need to run through the camels check: camera, acting, everyone saying, editing, lighting, sound.
Oh my god!
Yeah, I think we touched
Hang on.
everything.
Dude, this is our 192nd episode. I've never heard you. Like, do you do that in your head sometimes?
Oh, like very rarely. Like I think I've done it like 3 times. Like, you know.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to make it a thing? Like at the end, we like double
Camels check. Yeah.
Camels check. But sometimes we don't need to fucking talk about some things in some movies.
But with the sound, also, you know, beyond music and all that shit, the Foley was pretty great. Every time they're thumping on the sand, man.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that's good.
But then, like, also, like,
yeah,
it just feels realistic. You know, I feel like other Foley artists would have like put a bit of a crunch to the sand, whereas there's never like a crunch to it. You know, it's always like
right.
It's like soft and like falls away kind of thing, and you're like, oh, that's what sand sounds like, you know.
Yeah, that's actually so true. Shout out to all the Foley artists on this film. You did a great job. Okay. Let's get to our final verdicts for Dune Part 2. And bonus question. Tell me if you prefer the first film or not. Jaden.
I'm going to slap an 8 on it. And I think I do prefer the first one at the moment. I think I love how much this one opens up the universe. But I think when I think of like a cinematic kind of experience, I think of the scale of the first one in everything it shows. And like I always like the like one of the things I love the most is like the Bene Gesserit like leaving the ship on Caladan like early in the film. Like I don't think anything ever like achieves that kind of sense of scale in this one, you know?
Like the ships and
yeah.
I'm going to slap an 8 on it as well, for sure. It's quite close with the first film right now. Again, rewatches subject to happen. But I think I'd also pick the first film just because for me, like, I thought the first film was fantastic. Like, the main holdback I had with that one was just that it felt like it had no ending, which again was like, you know, I get it, it's part 1, it's the whole point. But it was still like a holdback for it being a complete cinematic experience for me. So, but now it's like, okay, that part's no longer a thing. But now I have these sort of new things we're wrestling with Paul's arc in this one that are hopefully I'll iron out over time, but it's still a bit of a holdback for me right now. So it's like, I feel like now that part 1 has an ending, I feel like it has to win. Because I thought like everything before the ending of part 1 was like fantastic, you know. So they're close though. Fitzy, what about you?
Look at us, freaking copycats out here. 8 out of 10. Yeah, I prefer the cleanness of the first one and just the I don't know, like they both strive for atmosphere, but I think the first one achieves it better. And yeah, and the scale, as Jane said, like the sense of size and stuff is great in the first one. So yeah, you have to agree.
That's all very true. And just to be honest, I'd take Oscar Isaac over Josh Brolin any day of the week. You know what I mean? In my cast, just saying. I missed him.
But he's
missed Oscar. You know? I even missed Jason Momoa. You know what I mean? He was great. Anyway, it is what it is. They died. It's sad.
Oh, spoilers.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Just because this is a review for Dune Part 2 doesn't mean people have seen Dune Part 1, man.
Yeah, that's a great point. Sorry about that. Yeah, exactly. Have you ever thought about starting your own podcast? Let me tell you, if we can do it, anyone can. And that's thanks to Zencaster. Like a lot of other podcasts out there, our show is recorded over the web every week. But trying to record a podcast with platforms like Zoom and Discord can be an audio quality disaster. I'm sure you've heard some of the podcasts I'm talking about with long delays, sound cutting in and out. It is not pleasant. Zencaster captures studio quality sound for all of your guests right from your web browser. Zencaster's multi-layered backups ensure you always have your recordings in the highest quality even if the connection is unstable. And with Zencastr's all-in-one platform, you can create and distribute your podcast to Spotify, Apple, and other major destinations all in one place. Go to zencastr.com/pricing and use our code CinemaEffect to get 30% off your first month of any paid plan. That's zencastr.com/pricing with promo code CinemaEffect with an E for 30% off today. Feel a sense of Zen with Zencastr. Now it's time for our highlights of the week. Jaden, what have you been watching?
Nothing. Genuinely nothing, I don't think.
Cool.
I know.
You haven't watched more of Avatar: The Last Airbender?
No. But I think can I break the rules here?
Do what?
Give a shout out to a film I haven't watched but kind of experienced.
Sure.
Yeah.
Explain what you mean.
So, no, because I was talking to Andy about it earlier in the week, but I went to see the National in concert, and they played the song About Today, and it just in getting to hear them play that song, it reminded me of Warrior, the boxing movie with Joel Edgerton and Tom Hardy, because that's where I found their music. I found them, and because About Today plays at the climax of the film, and I was just telling Andy that that's like one of my favorite film moments of all time. So I was like, so I guess that's like my highlight of the week in like an abstract fashion.
Okay. Yeah, cool. That's neat. I haven't got anything that abstract, unfortunately. Oh, I'm so close to finishing a couple shows. I'll hopefully talk about one next week. But I did watch Foe that Jaden nominated.
Oh, I haven't even watched that yet.
So thank you, Jaden. It's all your fault. No. I didn't really like it. It was kind of a mess. Andy said yesterday that it felt like GPT wrote the script. I don't really agree with that, but I thought that was a funny comment. The script is the problem, though. The script is a mess. It's kind of like, it's like a good first draft that has some promise, I guess. And it's like they really need to do some rewrites on this. There's just too many points of confusion, and it's setting up a twist, and it does the twist, but it just sets it up in like throws you too many red herrings and too many things that are just kind of convoluting. Like it's making the clues are making you ask questions that it shouldn't be making you ask, that then have nothing to do with the result. It's just like it's a bit unfocused. And I didn't really like any of the acting. I'm sorry. I love you, Saoirse. Sorry, but I don't know. And I feel like I needed a better. Paul Mescal, I feel like is probably going to be a big thing. I needed a better introduction to him than this. I hadn't seen him in anything, so he's a bit tainted. But maybe that will be fixed at some point soon. Fitzy, what have you been watching?
Can you guess? What I've been watching?
No.
You feel what it's called?
Friday Night Lights.
Friday Night Lights. Yeah. That's what I've been watching.
Dude, I was muted. I fucking said it first, and I fucking muted. God damn it.
No, that doesn't count. I'm gonna make sure that your camera shots are not showing.
Yeah, in the video, you fucking be able to see my lips say it.
No, you won't. I'll cut that.
Because I said it and you didn't acknowledge it. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't really know. Well, I'm running out of things to say about this. I finished season 1, so that was good. There's not that many episodes. There's not as many episodes as I thought. There's not 22 episodes per season, so maybe I can actually finish the show. But,
that's good.
Yeah, I don't know. I just really love. I don't think I've ever loved characters more. I've never like Tim Riggins and fucking Matt Saracen. They're just great. Well fleshed out people. So yeah, I found this show through like the episode Daily Jane, like the TV show like Wordle thing where like they show you a frame and you have to guess what the show is.
Yeah, I haven't heard of it, but I can imagine it.
Yeah, so it's like the TV show version of the movie one, Framed.
Yeah.
And I think I'd like vaguely heard of it before that, but that made me start watching it, and now I'm just kind of into this weird, American high school teen drama show, which is awesome. It's really weird, but it's good.
Hell yeah, nice. Are you on Serialized yet?
Hmm.
I was going to say I haven't. I'm actually glad you're not, because I would have been embarrassed if you were, and then I hadn't followed you. So,
Oh, okay.
but I didn't think you were. Anyway,
Better get on that.
you said that like you have zero intention. Anyway. Now comes the segment where we hand the show over to you with our question of the show. Last week we asked you, what is a film that you would most want to see in 70mm IMAX? Some great choices here. Dr. Luke said, Interstellar. I'm upset at myself that it took me this long to watch it, although I'm sure that Sunshine would also be very nice to see. Yeah, maybe actually, yeah. But see, Interstellar, that's a realistic objective. Like, they were just playing it the other month or whatever at IMAX in Melbourne. So that's a tangible one and still a fantastic choice. I'd love to see that as well, for sure. Andy said, it's going to have to be something of a huge scope and actually feels like a spectacle at the same time. So I wouldn't be naming martial arts, westerns, horror, ordinary crime thrillers, slow burn, or foreign art house films, as I don't believe these are suitable for IMAX. I gave it some thought and think that the movie I would love to see the most on IMAX 70mm is The Tree of Life. Not only does it feel like an art house masterpiece, but it feels like a true spectacle in the most slice of life way possible. And just so many breathtaking shots feel like they have to be shown on the biggest cinema screen in the world. Michael Mann's Heat could be another one, because it has unforgettable shots and subtle sound mixing and score that feel like it's more of a conventional, that feel like it's more than a conventional crime movie. I might get these wrong, as these have never been on 70mm IMAX. If you ask the question differently, I'll say Tenet as a backup. Surely it's better than seeing it at Village Cinemas twice. Oh yeah, no doubt about that. Yeah. But no, you nailed the question, Andy. That's what we meant. Any film, doesn't matter if it has actually exists on the format or not, but it's just a hypothetical question. Although Tenet was one of my answers, of course, because it exists on the format and I would love to see it on the format at some point in my life. Luckily, I feel like, because I'm actually, it's Nolan, synonymous with the format. They do a lot of screenings of his films there. So I feel like it's not unrealistic for me to see it at some point in IMAX. So that's fun. That's good. But yes, Jaden, any thoughts, any Nolan thoughts maybe, or in another direction?
I don't know. Like, Andy's 100% right. It needs to be spectacle worthy, and I think of that, I kind of think of sci-fi as well. I don't know. I took the question as, because I wasn't sure how we framed the question either. I wasn't aware if like it needed to be on 70mm or if it's like,
yeah, nah.
I don't know. Yeah, I guess my answer is I don't know. And it is something with a great sense of scale, I guess. I think 2001 is the default that I would say. But I think 2001 in IMAX is doable, not on 70mm. I think it is on the 4K re-release. Maybe it's on the 70mm somewhere.
Haven't you seen it on film?
No, I think that was just a 4K restoration that I saw it at.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was something special. Yeah.
I don't know. There might be something better, but like from what I can see at the moment, what I'm thinking of, I think that's probably the best.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, there are definitely like some obvious answers. Like for me, like Blade Runner 2049. Like sounds epic. For Nolan, another Nolan one for me is The Dark Knight Rises. Specifically Rises. I feel like of the three, it's like it would suit it the best, just with the scale and like the citywide stuff and everything. I feel like it would work very well, and that's another one I could definitely see at some point. But like I liked Andy's way of like taking it like a bit of a slightly less conventional route, like still trying to play to the strengths of IMAX, but like not just picking a big action sci-fi movie, So like, and like, I actually think The Tree of Life's a really good shout, by the way. But for this, how do you feel about Silence?
I don't know, actually. Yeah.
I was expecting, that's great, Zach. That's genius,
Yeah. I'm just trying to think about. I think it would certainly be effective in the format, but I don't know if it could be. I don't know how significant the change would be.
Something about it, like, dude, I feel like I could just picture myself being like that extra immersed in that time in Japan. And like some of the shots Scorsese does are like on the beach and like when like the characters are like on the post like getting smashed with the waves. Like, something about that like really speaks to me in IMAX. I don't know.
But sorry to kind of go weird here, but like when you're shooting on IMAX cameras, you shoot a film differently to what you're shooting on regular 16:9 cameras, right? Like you design a shot differently.
Yeah, for sure. Because
so then in talking about watching silence on IMAX, would you then have to have framed everything differently? Or would you keep it the same and just expand it?
Well, yeah. If Silence were actually shot on IMAX, it would be a different film. Yes, but the questions like the questions are more like a hypothetical.
I think the horizontalness of a lot of the landscapes and like the kind of way that is broken up is kind of perfect at the moment. I don't know how well it complement IMAX, but if you were to reshoot the film with the format in mind, then perhaps yes.
Yeah. Okay, I see what you mean. Yeah. See, for me, I don't like think of the landscapes as such in Silence as like they're not the first thing that comes.
Well, not the landscapes, but like I don't know. I think
yeah. I know what you mean. Yeah, I don't know. Like the main scenes I think about, like I said, with the waves and shit. Like I think about, like I think IMAX would benefit those. But yeah, you're right. Like obviously, it would be different. Fitzy, are you going to go conventional? Take us out there like the Tree of Life.
I don't know, like, I guess I'd want to see any good film on IMAX. I don't know. But Lawrence of Arabia is probably like an obvious choice, obvious Dune related choice.
Sure. Something about deserts and IMAX.
Yeah. What is it? Yeah. Surely Cleopatra will be in IMAX.
Yeah.
I don't know. Tree of Life is a good shout, I guess. It feels like wasn't there already an IMAX. I'm pretty sure Malik he already released like some dinosaur shit or some like evolution.
I was gonna say the dinosaur shit in that movie is like IMAX made for sure.
Oh yeah, that is. But like he made something else that was like already an IMAX thing. Like it feels like an IMAX specific director, so that's a decent shot. Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh. No, I won't say a movie I haven't seen. That doesn't make any sense. Yeah, I don't know. Those ones.
I reckon it makes sense.
Yes,
maybe you'd want to see in IMAX.
Well, I was thinking of like The Thin Red Line would be probably cool to watch in IMAX, just like a war, epic kind of thing. Spiritual
war movies, yeah.
Hacksaw Ridge.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to see Andrew Garfield like massive.
Yeah, we really do. Yeah, exactly. Cool. All right, that was a good question. As always, we'd love you to submit your responses, thoughts, and/or reviews for next week's film in the YouTube comment section, the Instagram comment section, or the best option of all, join the Discord server. This week, the specific question we'll be asking you is: this is a bit of a heady one. This is a bit of a could potentially write a thesis on this one if you really wanted to, but don't. Should directors get as much credit as they do for their films? Just let that sink in for a second. Let us know what you think. Okay. Before we go, we have an Instagram poll to announce nominees. We've got, this time, Fitzy's on a streak. I don't like it. It needs to be stopped. So Jaden fell last time. It's now my turn.
Lead them to paradise. Lead them to paradise.
Yes, Timothy, yes. Okay. I'm facing Liam in this poll. We'll each be nominating a film, and you must vote to decide which film we'll be reviewing in a fortnight's time. So, Fitzy, do you care to go first?
You can go first. I've got a kind of. You go first. You
got a kind of what?
I gotta lead it into my one. It's like.
Do you? Okay. So, okay. I fully acknowledge this isn't a poll winner, like, choice. It's not, this ain't Jurassic Park, you know what I'm saying? So, I'm a bit scared, but I'm nominating The Remains of the Day because it's on Netflix. I think it's got a pretty high rating. I don't know how well people know it. I don't know. So I don't know how it's going to resonate.
I've seen it.
But I just read...
Like,
you've seen
2 or
it?
3 times.
Okay.
That's it.
Really? Oh, shit, sorry. But anyway, whatever. It's my poll nominee, whatever. So I just read the book. So I was going to watch the film soon. And now that Fitzy's seen it, maybe he can provide in-depth analysis if it wins. So vote for me, please. Yes, that's my rally. Okay, Liam, what are you doing?
My nominee is Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island.
Oh, fuck off.
From
no.
1998. So if you want to have fun and not watch some depressing anti-romance movie, then pick Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island.
I am 100% voting for Liam.
Right. Okay, guys. So I'll be watching The Remains of the Day tonight. Because there's no fucking way. Do we even have to do the poll now? No, you should still do the poll to see how much you win by. You knew. Oh, look at him. He's all smart. You knew what you were doing. You knew.
What?
Oh,
it's just some Scooby-Doo movie. Why would it win?
Scooby-Doo. Is it a cartoon one?
Yeah.
Oh, God, kill me. All right.
It's one of the good ones.
I'll get mentally prepared for that. Okay, so those are your 2 options. So go to our Instagram page, check out our stories within the next 24 hours after this episode goes live, and cast your vote. And everyone, remember The Remains of the Day, True Cinema, Anthony Hopkins, great film.
Bro.
Check it out. Check it out.
It's like Scooby. Like pick Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island.
Yeah. It's really not the film I want to be watching at the moment in my kind of film lull, you know? I don't want to watch Oscar bait. I want to watch entertaining Scooby-Doo.
Oh my God, Jamie. What did you have to endorse? Like, couldn't you just place your vote and shut up? Like, why'd you have to endorse him? Anyway, all right. That's it for this week's episode. I'm shutting you down. That's it. We're done. Fitzy, what are we watching next week?
We're doing a 2023 film, Bottoms, which is on Amazon Prime Video Entertainment Australia. So
Project Limited, yeah.
Yeah. It's like a female like Fight Club kind of thing, like a modern Fight Club thing.
Oh.
I think.
Cool. I didn't know that. I know nothing about it. So that's good. Except Io's in it, of course. That's why we're watching it, you know.
Ah. So.
Anyway, that's it. Appreciate Liam and Jana for joining me, as always, on a Sunday as well. Have a great rest of your week, and goodbye.